So, a lot of guys are worried that House of the Dragon only has 8 episodes in season 2, and now House of the Dragon will return to Leavesden Studios in February to reshoot for to do reshoots for a month. What do you guys think about that?
I'm sort of worried for the pacing of the very beginning with Blood and Cheese episode one, and then Otto getting fired at beginning of episode two, we think, which makes it very difficult to the whole book subplot of, oh, he gets fired because he's not taking action quickly enough because you've only had one episode. It has to be for like Aegon's emotional state after Blood and Cheese or something. It can't be because he's not doing enough because no one would have done anything a single episode, which I think is a very important subplot to adapt because it really highlights the difference between Otto and Kristen and what that transition means, where it's like going from a politician to a soldier. Now it's just kind of, we don't know what Otto is like as a wartime hand. So I'm worried about that, the pacing.
Yeah, I think in the beginning it might be a challenge because, he's not going to be hand for much longer.
Yeah.
But then again, that whole thing that has people stressing is of course that it only has 8 episodes. So a lot of people think that this is rushed when in reality it's only stretched out. They didn't want to compromise the Battle of the Gullet in season 2. It's not going to be happening in this season. It's going to be in season 3. And by doing that, we will spend much more time on the characters and really fleshing them out afterwards. But that's an interesting point. The beginning of the season might be fast, and then it slows down from there.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. I haven't really thought about the fact that Otto was going to get fired in like a few seconds, like because they still need to, do the whole thing of him like contacting the Triarchy and being like blah 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 blah. But at the same time, that could be done like in secret much later on, at any point since they're extending the whole gullet thing anyways. So, yeah, I don't know. I think for the reshoots, that part of it, I think people associate reshoots in like the more typical Hollywood like superhero movie things where if there's reshoots, you know, something is being changed or something, but that's not necessarily what it means. Reshoots aren't a bad thing. It doesn't mean that something like is like significantly wrong. It either means that they weren't happy with what they shot, which means they're going back and doing it better, or they've seen how it looks, seen how it plays out, and decided to change something for the better of the show. I mean, it's very, very rare that a studio will reshoot something and make it worse. you know, like reshoots are a good thing. It's not a negative. The fact that they're like spending budget on, quality is a good thing.
And
So,
obviously, we gotta remember that it was a very difficult time. Like Ryan Condal and the writers weren't allowed to rewrite anything because of the ongoing strike. So they
mm,
probably saw the rough cut and they were like, okay, well, it might be a better idea if this character is there, and maybe redo that whole conversation there and add a little bits and pieces of lore, or it could be very small. Like it's not gonna be in a like I've read one comment where they were like, yeah, they should just film the remaining 2 episodes in that time period. It just goes to show how how deranged the imagination is from a lot of people when it comes to filmmaking.
Yeah.
I feel
I
like
mean,
they might just add a few more scenes with Jace and the Pact of Ice and Fire stuff, since like Gullet is moved to season 3.
mm,
Might give him a little more character development, maybe.
Yeah,
yeah,
it could be anything. Could be anything. And
Yeah,
I guess them filming in the studio means obviously that it's all built, like King's Landing and everything is right there. Dragonstone got a bigger set. That was something that Max told me when I did the interview. So yeah, it could just be small stuff. Doesn't have to be large scale. And the Battle of the Gullets, they are actually going to film that on actual sea. Like that is one of the reasons why they decided to move this battle to the third season because it's just very expensive to film on actual water. That is something that someone told me that comes straight from the set. And
I think it also all being shot indoors means it's less likely to involve dragons. It's not going to be like battles and stuff reshot, so it shouldn't push back the release date that much.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think also another thing to consider is that the season having 8 episodes doesn't mean that there's going to be like it's necessarily going to be rushed, because at the end of the day, doesn't matter how a season is structured, every episode still has a 3-act structure, right? Whether it's like extremely visible or not, it absolutely does have one, and especially in the first season of House of the Dragon, like it's very, very evident. So I mean, we could be looking at like 1 hour plus episodes each. The only reason why they cut episodes was specifically because of the Battle of the Gullet, and specifically because of Rhaenyra taking King's Landing. They couldn't work all that into one season reasonably. So there being less battles and 2 less episodes doesn't mean that there won't be character scenes and stuff like that. If anything, there's going to be more, right? So I'm thinking at this point, every episode will be 1 hour plus, because they're focusing more on character scenes, which are cheaper to shoot, and much less time consuming. So I think having 8 episodes at this point is a good thing. You're pacing the show, you're thinking forward. I'd much rather have that than have a battle scene that isn't like satisfying.
Yeah, the Battle of the Gullet is the
yeah.
biggest sea battle that we will ever see in A Song of Ice and Fire adaptation.
I mean, in
so,
TV history,
yeah,
honestly, I can't think of anything which will rival that. At least in
Obviously,
terms
you're
of
on
like
Sea Battle in
practical.
season 7, right? That was incredible. We all love that one.
Yeah.
I actually
Yeah.
enjoyed him killing the sand snakes though. Like I actually enjoyed watching them because they were atrocious. But yeah, obviously
we
all
didn't
the
like it for the
dragons.
right reasons. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, like the technical part of it, phenomenal. It was all shot
Yeah.
very, very well, and the sets and everything were great. But I mean, I think the Battle of the Gullet, it's gonna be like in clear daylight, right? It's gonna be like 4 or 5 dragons, fucking ton of ships. We're talking like hundreds of ships. It's gonna be a big deal. So
On
yeah.
that note, do you guys think that they might change who is involved in the Battle of the Gullet? Because I think it would be a pretty good change if they would have Rhaenyra participate in it and actually witnessing, what happens.
I had actually thought the other way, but I've seen a lot of speculation that for some reason, I can't remember what the original like theory is, but that the fall will take place before the Gullet in the show. Apparently, there's like some behind the scenes things that indicate that. So it might actually be that there's like less dragons involved, where it's just Jason, Baylor, and Nettles or something, which is how it goes so catastrophically, whatever, wrong. That I'd rather see the Rhaenyra option. I think that does sound better, but
So
Yeah,
I think the reason why that speculation came in the first place was because everyone was so set on the second season ending with Rhaenyra taking King's Landing. So I think if the Gullet is moved, because the thing is, one can't, at least in my mind, don't get me wrong, I'm not the hand of the king, I'm not politically inclined, but you can't take a city if the ports are completely shut off. There's zero tactical advantage you're getting, because how are your troops going to get there if the city is fully defended? Okay, well, it's not fully defended, but they still need to get there, right? And the only way they're actually reasonably getting from Dragonstone to mainland is through the Gullet, right? You can't take King's Landing without taking the Gullet. So I think the reason people thought that might happen earlier is because they thought that episode 8 is still going to end with Rhaenyra taking King's Landing, but I do not think that's going to happen.
okay, I'm very happy to be wrong then.
We have leaks about the final episode that suggest that Rhaenyra is going to be in Harrenhal. Or at
Interesting.
Harrenhal. And we also have leaks that Alicent is going to be at Dragonstone. Dragonstone with Rhaenyra. So it would be weird to have that and also have Rhaenyra taking King's Landing.
Mm. Yeah.
I'm guessing the Alicent meeting is just her wanting to divide the kingdom from later on getting like moved up to here. So it's kind of like, in a good way, the end of season 7 with the whole two sides meeting thing.
Mm.
Like a last try, sue for peace, like a last try
Yeah.
to get
And
it.
that would let her meet characters like Jace, who she just wouldn't interact with otherwise.
True.
Mm.
True.
She's gonna
thing
bring
is,
the book pages again.
Huh?
She's gonna bring the book pages again. Hey, here's another page. Remember when we were friends?
Gonna ask the old one back.
The thing is, it would actually make sense for Alicent to be on Dragonstone if Rhaenyra had already taken King's Landing, because Alicent is completely in Rhaenyra's control by that point. Like that would make sense to me, but
But then
bit
why
hard for
not
me
have
to
that
believe
scene
that-
at King's Landing? In King's Landing, you know, she's being taken
that's the
captive
thing.
at that point, you know.
yeah,
And Otto would
that's
be
the thing.
dead, and this it's a lot for a final episode, I think. You know, to have
Yeah,
Daemon and Rhaenyra at Harrenhal, have Alicent at Dragonstone, then have the fall, then have the
yeah,
execution
that's
of
too much.
Otto, and
Way too much.
you know that's
Yeah.
a bit much.
Mm.
But
I
yeah,
think that-
I think in terms of worrying about you know the season being rushed, as Max pointed out, I think the first episode might be a little weird, but we will see. I don't think that you know people were talking about how we don't know the kids, and I don't think that we will need to know the kids. You know, it's just this horrible act, and it will speak for itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, we only knew Emma for half an episode, and what happened to her was still horrifying.
True.
Mm.
True.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, seeing kids getting killed is always going to be like horrific, right? I mean, what you only need 2 scenes max with the kids for it to have an impact, you know. And it doesn't even need to be like anything crazy. I mean, these kids can like barely form sentences, like they're tiny, you know. And if they have anything to say, it's not going to be anything like, you know, they're not going to discuss war plans with Aegon, you know.
Unless they're gonna hold a monologue.
Yeah, and I mean Aegon, you know, obviously like the death of his kids did like destroy him undoubtedly. So he obviously cared about them, but he wasn't fucking doing playtime with him every day, you know. So yeah.
With the 8 episodes as well, while I think people like us will be fine with it just sort of ending, as long as the episodes are good because we know what's coming next. For the casual viewer, it might just sort of feel like the season ends when it's like about to hit its climax, which might feel a bit disappointing. They might be expecting something equivalent to Storm's End at the end, expecting like something built up from Rook's Rest, and they just won't get that.
So
That's a good point.
So they definitely need some sort of big thing to happen in the finale. But what is that gonna be? Is it gonna be the dragon seeds stuff? Is that exciting enough?
That's the thing.
How do you end the season without the fall, without the gullet, without I don't know. To make it exciting for the broader audience. I mean, I'm fine with people talking, but
Maybe you could have Kragan and the Northern Army sort of leave, and then like go sort of join the war. And obviously, we know they won't be impactful for long. But just the image of seeing them leave, and then maybe also seeing like the Aemond leaving King's Landing. But obviously, there's a 17-day march, so he doesn't get there immediately. We don't see that. Maybe just the idea that the war's going to continue, and now we've got even more players, is enough to make people excited.
well, we also know that you know there was a leaked photo of like a photo of the makeup department at the House of the Dragon, and we saw White Walkers in the background. So maybe we will have some sort of fight against another. I don't
I
know.
hope not.
I hope not. I also don't want that shit to be as important as it could be. You know, I don't want this to be just to play any any part, but it is a thing. You know, the prophecy is a thing. So
Yeah, they talk about Azora High, and then you flash a picture of Stephen Delane.
Man, when was the
real
last
to me
episode
entertaining.
where you didn't talk about Stephen Delane? Where you didn't shoehorn him into this conversation?
Nah, man.
Like every
man.
interview too. Like you gotta know.
When was
Like
the
when
last
you
time?
watch
When was the last time George couldn't join? That's what you should be asking. That's what you should be asking.
watch back all of the interviews. Like it goes like every time we have someone who plays a character from House Baratheon, at some point George is gonna ask him something about Stephen Delane, or if we're talking about theater, and Stephen Delane did a lot of theater, George will be like, well, did you ever participate in a play with Stephen Delane? And so it's
Have
so
you ever heard
random.
of the famous actor Stephen Delane? He was in the famous TV show Game of Thrones.
The funny Stannis character.
The funny star. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think Kragan's going to be a lot like Stannis. That's why I'm looking forward to him.
I'm Wim Peak? Or who? Who?
Kragan, sorry.
Kragan. Well, it depends, right? He's very young. Very young.
It's, in fairness, that book, Stannis is like 35. He just acts like he's 80.
True. True. Yeah. No, I mean Kragan is what, like 22, 23 at this point? Something like that. Like he's very young. But honestly, the Kragan who, you know, ends up in King's Landing during the Hour of the Wolf is basically an old man. Like this, he's way too mature for his age. He's
Like,
extremely self-serious.
That artwork of Kragan is like that's a 40-year-old man.
Exactly.
And that's why
that's Ned Stark. I'm sorry.
That's why people were so pissed about Tom Taylor, I think, is going to play him. Playing him because they were like, wow, he's way too young. No, he's actually the right age. It's just that stupid artwork from Fire and Blood.
Yeah.
This goes to show how serious people are taking this mediocre book. I'm sorry, man. It's not that great. It's not that. It's you know.
I used to like it a lot more than most people did. But then ever since House of the Dragon came out, I seem to like it way less because I'm actually justifying the changes. And now you have like a whole group of people going, no, they were so three-dimensional in the book where they had 2 lines.
Yeah, that is the thing. Like you take everything you know about Daemon and Rhaenyra. How many chapters of A Song of Ice and Fire would that be?
Yeah,
that's like, it's not all that, you know. It's
not all that now.
It's a fascinating read, and it sparked a lot of conversation that wasn't there before because we actually got some glimpses and bits and pieces here and there about Valyria and everything. Obviously, early on, the Maegor stuff is amazing, but come on, it's like reading a Wikipedia page, man. You know, it's fucking. It's not all.
I actually thought about this earlier today. About like I was at work. I was rewatching some scenes, and I just realized how much I fucking love the show, man. Like it's fucking great, you know. Like we are eating well, and I told this to you the other day, Ricky. But I mean, there are like a few big things that we don't like about it, right? I'm not going to talk about them now, but there are a few big things we don't like. But for the most part, the show is a insanely good adaptation. One which, in my opinion, easily exceeds the source material. You know, just because of the way the book is written. George obviously went for something specific, and whether that was for good or bad doesn't really matter. It's irrelevant. But I mean, the show is fucking. It's amazing. It's amazing.
It has flaws, but those flaws don't make the show bad. You know, it definitely. I see some flaws in the show. Like there are a few things that I'm interested to see play out, like the dragon thing. You know, it being an accident that could be interesting. Rhaenys killing the people at the dragon pit, that could be interesting. But right now, it's just like, okay, well, how are they going to address the Laenor thing? How are they going to? Are they just going to glance over the fact that Rhaenys did kill all of these innocent people? Those are the questions that I can't wait to see Answer. But all in all, I also just rewatched season 1, and the way Viserys was treated on the show was just so fucking great. That was so much better than what we got. And on that note, they will definitely have my trust, because they proved that they can improve the things that were in that book.
Yeah, I think watching this show made me fall in love with Ryan Condal.
And what way are we talking here, man? I mean, I don't judge, but like,
I have a taste for ambiguity.
okay, cool.
You know, like Ryan Condal is a Mummer's farce enjoyer.
Oh yeah, yeah. And this Mummer's farce. Are you mad?
Mine own back.
We're so gonna get Words of Wind next season. There's no way that's not happening.
Yeah.
Now we
yeah.
better.
Especially in the Alicent Rhaenyra confrontation, like the one on Dragonstone. If they're
Yeah.
trying to get a piece, he's definitely gonna say that.
Nuncle.
Nuncle,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, that's definitely coming. I mean, that's famous, but
If
Yeah.
if they change Nuncle to Uncle, I'm gonna be mad. I'm gonna be angry, even though it sounds goofy.
yeah, I will
want
be the
it.
one that makes a petition for
Yeah.
remake House of the Dragon. We'll have 500,000 signs.
Remake all 4 seasons of House of the Dragon.
Remake
change
one scene
Every
of House
single
of the
time
Dragon.
someone says Uncle to Nuncle.
That's what the
I need
reshoots
you,
next season
Nuncle.
are actually for. Next
Yeah, that's
month.
what the reshoots are for. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just
One of the actors accidentally slipped up and no one noticed. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Ryan was just like, nah, guys, source materials first. Come on.
Yeah, I was reading the Victorian chapter again with the King's Moot. That's where most of the Nuncles came from. And fucking, like, Asha was like, we should, like, co-rule. And Victorian was like, well, what does she mean? Is she trying to, like, have sex with me? What's going on?
Victorian
I
is so
realized how
dumb.
stupid he is.
It's so
Most sane familial interaction in A Song of Ice and Fire.
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap it up right here, right now. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Max, thank you for coming on the show. Definitely
It was a lot
go
of fun. Thank you for
over
inviting me.
and follow him on Twitter. I just had to invite him because on a place that is just so full of crazy takes, he is keeping me very much sane. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Take care and see us later.